There's some weird stuff going on at ESPN right now, and I don't know if it has anything to do with Florida State and Clemson trying to leave the ACC. I don't know if there's a targeted company narrative or message that's being told to analysts or hosts to kind of get in line and, hey, this is what we're going to be saying. But there's been some weird shots fired, none bigger than the one by Paul Finebaum this week, and we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about RG3. We'll talk about Sam Ponder. We'll talk about all that stuff here on today's video. This is presented by BetUS. I appreciate them for their support. We'll talk more about them in just a moment. Paul Finebaum had some pretty interesting comments, and I've told you guys, and you know this guy flip-flops, and he's more wishy-washy than anybody in sports media, and I get it. He certainly has to defend a narrative and defend some talking points, and I do the same thing, right? I do the same thing for Florida State. So what he does for the SEC and what he does for ESPN, I do for Florida State. So that's fine, but you just kind of know that when he's telling you things, you may be able to trust it, you may not. You may be able to take it at face value, you may not. And really, since about 2014, when he said that Auburn was going, early 2014, right after the 2013 season, when he said Auburn was going to wipe the floor with Florida State, and then he had to sit up there with those big, huge satellite ears and basically tell everybody, like, yeah, I was wrong. He's been bitter about Florida State. I mean, even when Jimbo was here, he was a jerk on the ESPN car wash that they used to do. And, so this shouldn't really surprise anybody, but if you haven't heard his comments, they're quick. It's like 30 seconds. Check out what Paul Finebaum said this week.
Top 10 team will finish the season unranked.
Florida State. First of all, they have no business being in the top 10. They have a difficult schedule. They have Florida State has Miami and Notre Dame within a 3-week period on the road. They end the season with Florida, which is a debatable team. But I think they're going to get caught in the run-of-the-mill ACC game this year, which they did not encounter last year. They lost the guts of their defense. They have a quarterback who has certainly been around and remains a question mark. And I think they also have a hangover. I think they used up too many tears crying about not getting in the playoffs, and that may slow them down a little bit this year.
So obviously Finebaum is a massive hater, and we'll talk about some of what he said and RG3's message back. But the amount of salt that you could hear in his voice when he was saying this is phenomenal. First of all, when you really look at and break down what he said, I mean, he's completely off base. When he talked about, they might lose 3 or 4 games, and that might end up causing them to be unranked. When you look at the rankings from last year, every team from 11 down had 3 or more losses. When you look at the teams that had 4 or more losses, every team from 16 down had 4 or more losses, except for SMU. So group of 5 team now in the ACC had 3 losses, but was bumped down a little bit just due to group of 5 status. There are going to be like 14 teams with 3 or 4 losses, roughly. And last year was a very top-heavy year where there were less losses overall in the top 25. There are going to be teams with 3 and 4 losses that are ranked at the end of the year. In fact, there's going to be probably like 15 of them or so. And so for Finebaum to say, oh yeah, they're going to have 3 or 4 losses, so they're going to finish the year unranked, is, first of all, like, that's just not even how it works. Like, there's usually a couple of teams undefeated. This year, there won't be any. There'll be 1 at most if somebody runs the table. But then there'll be 3 or 4 1-loss teams, and there'll be 3 or 4 2-loss teams, and then there'll be 3 or 4 3-loss teams, and there'll be a bunch of 4-loss teams. Like, that's just not even how it works. So even if he's right, and Florida State goes 8-4, which, that would make Vegas wrong. That'd make all the analysts wrong. That'd make everybody who's, actually knows ball and is predicting, teams to go to the playoff. That'd make all of them wrong. Your Pates and Pacals and all those guys. So it would make everybody wrong. But even if they go 8-4, and then maybe win a bowl game, whatever, 4 losses, they're still going to finish the season ranked. So, like, first of all, he's not even right about what he's saying. Second of all, so much salt, so much of being a hater here. You talked about Clemson, talked about Miami, Notre Dame, got to play Florida at the end of the year. Not sure how that would go. Essentially, yeah, if Florida State goes 0-4 in those games, then yeah, they're not going to have as good of a year. And then, he didn't say this. He didn't say they'd lose 5, but then they'd have to get caught up in that random run-of-the-mill ACC game, which, again, who's that come against, right? Is that Georgia Tech to open? Is that SMU? Are you worried about Duke or North Carolina later? I mean, maybe. Not really, though. He's just hating for the sake of hating. And then to top it all off, he takes a shot. Look, I don't care when people take a shot at me or Florida State fans or the media around Florida State. I don't care about any of that. None of that matters to me. Where I think I have a bigger problem with it is when he said that the team has been crying about the snub and they've wasted all those tears and wasted all that effort and energy on getting left out of the playoff. And so that might trip them up. That's not the case at all. I've not heard anyone on the team continue to bring that up. Now, at ACC kickoff, Josh Farmer and Pat Payton were asked about that specifically. They answered the question in front of them, but none of them have brought that up. Mike Norvell has talked to me personally. He's gone on several different shows saying he doesn't use that as motivation. I've not heard any of our guys post-practice talk about, yeah, man, we went out there and we busted butt today because we were still pissed off about the snub. Like, that's not something the team is really embracing. Now, I know they're still upset. I know they're still mad. But for him to attack their character and for him to make it out like those guys are whiners and crybabies and using up all their tears and using up all their energy on the snub is completely off base. And that's where I think it gets personal. You want to talk about FSU fans? Absolutely. FSU fans have continued to whine, continue to moan, continue to complain about the snub, and we will forever. And if you want to call us babies for that, totally good with it. That is great. We will always complain about it. Just like Miami fans continue to complain about the pass interference call against Ohio State. Just like fans of other teams, Oklahoma State when they went 13-0, Auburn when they went 13-0, just like those fans continue to complain about those things, we will forever complain about the snub. And so if you want to talk about FSU fans, I'm good with that. When you bring the players into it and you bring the team into it, that's where I think it goes to a different level. That's where I think you're attacking kids' character, and I think you're just a piece of trash at that point. And that's what Finebaum is, right? You want to talk about fans, that's fine. Players, I think you take it to a different level. Now, RG3 had some interesting comments. I'll talk about those in just a moment. RG3 ended up maybe getting fired for his interesting comments. We'll break that down in a moment, but I do want to give some love over to BetUS. Make sure that you're using the link in our description for BetUS. They have supported us and are working on bringing you guys some of the best odds and best lines in the game. Here you can see me right now. I'm high on the noles, so screw Finebaum. You can see me placing a bet, pretty big one, on Florida State's over on wins this year, 9.5 there at BetUS. And there you guys got it. Hit the confirm button. It's real. I'm not faking you guys out or anything. There it is, confirmed. Florida State, 9.5 over on the wins. Listen, they've got a 125% deposit bonus going on right now on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000. Go to BetUS, use my link in the description so you get that deposit bonus. They've also got a crypto bonus that's huge as well. Make sure that you're betting with BetUS this year. Let's make some money together. Appreciate them for their support. Now listen, RG3 then came out with a tweet that was pretty directly at Paul Finebaum. He didn't mention him. He didn't say his name. He didn't at him. But he tweeted it shortly after Finebaum's viral clip kind of started making this rounds. He said, anyone who is throwing shade at or trying to take cheap shots at Florida State for being left out of the college football playoff last year must be out of touch with reality. Essentially, Paul Finebaum, you are out of touch with reality. FSU wasn't a team that was kept out because they lost a game down the stretch. They are a team that was kept out because their starting quarterback fractured his ankle. That's not something to make light of. The players on that team, the coaches, their families, and the fans certainly were crying tears for one of the most beloved players in all of college football in Jordan Travis. They scraped together their way to an undefeated regular season with a second and third string quarterback. That team should be celebrated for what they pulled off down the stretch, not mocked. Hashtag FSU Twitter. I love that he directly calls out Paul Finebaum by referencing the tears, referencing the fact that fans and players and different people are upset. And RG3 was, and we did videos back on this in December, RG3 was one of the most outspoken people about the snub and just about what had happened to Florida State in general that existed. He was always in our corner, and you can think he's corny. I have tweets, right? I have tweets that maybe I should go delete because I'm a big RG3 fan now. But I have tweets that are anti-RG3 calling games just because he says some ridiculous things. Like, he says some wild things. Never said anything that was inappropriate. Never said anything that I thought like, oh man, I can't believe he said that. Nothing, anything like that. But just some crazy stuff that I've never heard uttered during a football game. And RG3, keep being you, man. You are a funny dude. You are a great dude. And you do truly represent what's good in college football. You are unique. You certainly don't care what other people think about you. You saw those tweets. You saw people giving you a hard time for the way that you thought or the way that you reacted to stuff or the funny, crazy things that you said. and you never let it change you. You kept being you. You were hilarious. You brought some comedy to games. I don't know if you intentionally did that or not. Kind of Jameis Winston vibes with not necessarily trying to be funny, but I thought RG3 was phenomenal at that. And again, you might have thought it was corny. You might not have liked it. Whatever. Everybody likes different things. Maybe you like more just the traditional like X's and O's talking about it. But in some games where the blowouts were happening or something, he would provide some comedy that would kind of lighten the mood. And even if you didn't like it, at least you got to laugh at it with people on Twitter. And so you at least got a little bit of a chuckle from what he did. RG3 stands up for Florida State, not the first time he's done it, and then less than 48 hours later, fired from ESPN. Now, I'm not telling you that connect this dot, connect that dot, do this, do that. ESPN says it was budget cuts. ESPN says it was needing to save dollars. And then it comes out a little bit later, ESPN gets caught in a lie, of course, that they had to pay him out his entire contract. So whether you're paying out the entire contract over the remainder of the contract, or you're just paying it all out today or in payments with a buyout, it certainly wasn't about budget cuts. It certainly wasn't about saving a dollar or saving money down the road. Well, why would RG3 potentially get fired? Why would they want to part ways with one of the more popular college football play-by-play guys or analysts in the sport? Why would they want to cut ties with somebody with the fame, from the Heisman, from just all that he's done, being in the NFL, obviously elite college football player? Why would they want to cut ties with him? Well, what if he called out? What if he directly took shots at one of their more popular analysts? One of their more popular analysts that maybe is a little bit more important to what they want in defending the SEC. Could that be a reason? Because it certainly wasn't money, right? We understand that it wasn't money. We understand that ESPN paid him out for his contract anyway. So it wasn't money. What else could it have been? Well, football starts in less than 2 weeks. We know that. You're watching this on Friday morning. I'm up late on Thursday night recording it after going to the FSU soccer game today in Tampa. And I fly out tomorrow at 6 a.m. So, don't everybody rush to say thank you for me doing this late. But you're watching this with just 8 days to go into the season. Does it seem like ESPN would fire an in-game analyst that is widely popular and cover some of their bigger games? Does it seem like they would make that firing 8 days before the kickoff? Like, I know, all the fans out there of other teams. Well, yeah, crazy Florida State fans with their conspiracy theories again. I know what the comments are going to say from the non-FSU fans. But it wasn't money. Timing is very strange. And again, why would it happen today right after he made the comments? Just timing seems strange to me. It got even weirder, though, when you take it a step further than RG3. And why is Christian Ponder's wife, obviously FSU QB in the mid to late 2000s, why is Christian Ponder's wife being fired? Again, NFL season is preseason right now. She was the in-studio host for Sunday Countdown with Randy and Rex Ryan, and that show is phenomenal. I don't really like any of the studio stuff that ESPN does, but that show was really good. Randy Moss is hilarious. Sam Ponder was really good. Rex Ryan is great. So I don't understand that one either. And I'm not telling you that because she's married to a Nole, that's why she got fired. But I do think that the firings there are certainly interesting. And I'll maybe propose a theory, maybe give you my 2 cents here. RG3 was very outspoken going up against Finebaum and going up against something that the top brass, when you look at it, who has more power at ESPN, Finebaum or RG3? Well, certainly Finebaum. Got his own show that is widely popular because all of the, I won't say it, all of the people that, all of the SEC fans, let me just be as PC as possible, love it, right? They love Finebaum. They don't do anything else I'll move on from there. But they love Finebaum. So certainly he has more pull, but RG3 kind of upset the apple cart that's a good one for you, upset the apple cart when he spoke out against Finebaum. Sam Ponder has been pretty outspoken about some things that she believes in too. And you can believe this, you can not believe this. I don't really care what your thoughts or opinions are on this. But she's been pretty outspoken here recently about the men and women sports stuff. And you can, I don't care what side of that you're on. Don't come into my mentions or comments. I was at a women's soccer game tonight, so don't shoot the messenger there. But no matter what you believe on that, Sam Ponder certainly is not a big fan of men playing, trans women playing in women's sports. And she's been pretty vocal about that recently. And the people that have been the most vocal about that at ESPN have been let go recently. And so I don't think that Sam Ponder was fired because she was married to a Nole. It certainly is coincidental to go on the same day as RG3 and those be the only two firings. But I do think both of them were probably let go because they took stances against what ESPN wanted them to take stances for, right? You may agree with Sam Ponder. You may disagree with Sam Ponder. Again, I don't really care what your personal beliefs are on that divisive issue. That doesn't matter to me. You know, we both cheer for the Noles. That's fine. But she certainly was outspoken about it. And now, like many others, she's been fired. RG3 was very, very outspoken about his thoughts on Florida State and what should have happened there. And he directly went at Paul Finebaum on Twitter. And now they're both gone. So I don't think it was, Sam Ponder's a Nole or married to a Nole by proxy. Her kid's name is Scout Bowden Ponder. But I think it's because they took stances for what they believed in, and then they got fired for it, right? And you can agree with RG3, you can disagree, you can agree with Sam, you can disagree. I don't care. I don't think it's just, you stood up for FSU, so we're firing you. I think it's you didn't toe the company line. And it kind of makes you wonder when you look back at Greg McElroy and Reese Davis and Kirk Herbstreit. I don't know that Kirk would have been fired for taking the other side of things with Florida State. But I do think that if you don't toe the company line and you step out of line in any corporation and you start taking shots or firing shots at other people within that, other powerful people within that organization, you're putting yourself in the crosshairs. You're putting yourself at risk. And you can think I'm crazy. You can think that's tinfoil hat-ish. Maybe you've never worked in corporate America and you don't realize that. But RG3, I appreciate what he did. You gotta, if you're worried about your job safety, you probably shouldn't be taking shots. If you're Sam Ponder and you're worried about your job safety, you probably shouldn't be speaking up on controversial issues because they will fire you. And we've seen it done from ESPN before, and we'll see it again, right? This is not the end of it. Certainly wasn't money. Timing is incredibly weird with the season just right around the corner for both, pro and college ball. But weird stuff at ESPN happening right now. And I'd love to get RG3 on. If any of you guys know RG3 and want to get him on the show here, I'd love to talk about it. Obviously, Sam Ponder went to Liberty where I went, and so I'd love to get her on too and chat. But unfortunate for both of them. Paul Finebaum is an absolute idiot, but don't need to tell you guys that more than once or twice. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. I appreciate BetUS for their support on the channel and this video. And Dublin, when you're watching this, I'll be on a plane. So stay safe if you're going over there. We are definitely getting together at noon next Friday. That's the 23rd. They're in Dublin. Hit me up if you're going to be over there. Shoot me a DM on Twitter or comment below or email me, whatever. Let me know you're going to be there. Let's get together next Friday at noon. Should be able to announce the bar like literally today while you're watching this. So go to my Twitter. We'll have all the info there. Go to the Double Fries Instagram and Twitter, and we'll post it there as well. But thank you guys for tuning in. We'll talk to you soon. Go Noles.